Released in 2014, Ground Zeroes was a compromise. The development of Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain was taking too long, so the corporate overlords were getting a little impatient, and so were the fans. The solution was to release a small prologue that demonstrated the Phantom Pain's new engine and the next generation of Metal Gear Solid gameplay. At the same time that director Hideo Kojima was appeasing Konami and MGS fans, he was also experimenting with a different format. Had the prologue been well received, it could have been expanded into an episodic Metal Gear Solid release. If Ground Zeroes had taken off, maybe the Phantom Pain would have looked a little different than what we know now. The game is set in an American military base in Cuba.
She's being held for interrogation at a camp on the southern tip of Cuba.
Black site. Nice. A slice of American pie on communist soil.
The main mission is the titular Ground Zeroes, and once you're done with that, you have 6 more missions to play, set in the same place. I say 6 more missions now, but at the time of release there were actually 5 missions. Each console got a special exclusive mission. The nostalgia people on the PlayStation got Deja Vu, where you can play as Solid Snake, reliving some iconic moments from the original Metal Gear Solid. Meanwhile, the Master Chief folks on the Xbox got Jamais Vu, a crossover between Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear Rising, and Hideo Kojima's classic cyberpunk adventure, Snatcher.
What is that? No mistake, that's a Snatcher. Eliminate it. Nice work.
Now, if an episodic stealth game using the same map for multiple missions sounds familiar to you, that's probably because you're thinking of the Hitman series developed by IO Interactive, specifically the series revival that started in 2016 and culminated in 2021's Hitman World of Assassination. While Kojima has talked about the failure of his experiment for Metal Gear Solid 5, it proved to be successful a couple of years down the line for Hitman. Not that Kojima or IO Interactive invented this, by the way. The idea of having a stealth or action game reuse the same level for multiple objectives and different missions as a way to extend playtime is something that has existed in one way or another for a little while, as far back as the days of Perfect Dark on the Nintendo 64 at the very least. But why do I keep coming back to Ground Zeroes on a regular basis when the Phantom Pain is right there? The short answer is, Ground Zeroes is a very good stealth sandbox. The long answer is actually what justifies this video. The Metal Gear series has always struggled with how much it wanted to have a pick-up-and-play vibe. The first 2 Metal Gear games are classics from the 8-bit era, so you're pretty much stuck with what you have. You don't exactly play it casually. Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2 are story-heavy games with large, interconnected environments that require quite a bit of backtracking. But they also have VR missions, which allow you to play through a series of stealth action challenges, essentially preparing you for the actual game by introducing you to the controls and mechanics.
Is there somebody there?
Nice work.
Then Metal Gear Solid 3 and 4 came out, and those were, once again, story-heavy with extensive environments, but with no VR missions or any equivalents. MGS4 in fact is the most cutscene-heavy game in the series. Between 3 and 4 we did have portable ops for the PSP, and that's when things changed a bit. Ideally, you are not supposed to design a game meant for a handheld that demands long play sessions. You are not always playing these games at home. After Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops and Portable Ops Plus, we had the Hideo Kojima-directed Peace Walker. Peace Walker finally found the sweet spot for MGS's pick-up-and-play aspirations. It has way less cutscenes than the previous entries, and a lot of the storytelling, background info, and character development happens through cassette tapes that you can listen to whenever you want. This carried over into Ground Zeroes and the Phantom Pain.
They burst out of the showers completely naked, trading punches. I am no child. The sight of a naked man does not make me blush. But this was something else.
Also, we go from tactical espionage action to tactical espionage operations. You have an entire base full of soldiers who can be dispatched into combat and infiltration missions. The VR missions format returns in the form of side ops, bite-sized missions that are perfect for quick sessions. The first side op, for example, can be completed in less than 30 seconds. Meanwhile, the main ops can take a little longer, but unless we're talking about the horrendously unbalanced boss fights, they are not really supposed to take longer than 15 minutes. from bite-sized to snack-sized if you will. Then we finally get to Ground Zeroes, and first of all, just look at how Snake controls here. This guy is smooth. He moves like a dream. In the Phantom Pain, movement is improved, but your character will sometimes feel a little too light. I like both, but I feel like the further smoothed out movement of the Phantom Pain would benefit from the sense of weight we have in Ground Zeroes. Ooh, that looks great. Do it again, do it again. Oh, fuck yeah. Remember when I talked about Ground Zeroes using the same map for different missions? Well, this is actually justified in-game. Every mission besides the main one is identified as a pseudo-historical recreation. Kojima is known for explicitly mixing gameplay and storytelling elements. While there are some theories and pretty good evidence that all the missions in Ground Zeroes are part of Venom Snake's brainwashing, let's look at this from a perspective that accounts for gameplay first, where the narrative merely accommodates to what's offered to the player. A pseudo-historical recreation is, obviously, an excuse to have several missions happening in the same map while telling you a non-linear, anachronistic story. Because, yeah, at some point Big Boss did eliminate or extract a spotter and a sniper called Glass and Palitz. You can literally extract these guys and have them in your base in the Phantom Pain, so these missions definitely happened. What makes the missions we play pseudo-historical is the fact that they didn't happen in the American base in Cuba, and any of the information we gathered wasn't really about Skullface, XOF, Paz, or Chico. Although maybe Big Boss did find out about American black sites in foreign soil.
Spit it out.
Ground Zeroes offered us a look into the future of MGS, of what the Phantom Pain would feel like, translating what we had in Peace Walker into an expensive, open-world AAA experience. But that's not really what happened, is it? At least not to me, and I hope I am not the only one who feels like that. With Ground Zeroes, I open the game, I choose a mission, and I start playing. With the Phantom Pain, I open the game, I choose a mission, I choose a loadout, I check how much I'm spending on that loadout, I hit the deployment button, and then I watch a lengthy helicopter ride to the deployment area, and then I can start. But as I navigate through the map, I see the resource counter on the corner of the screen, and I'm reminded once again that the Phantom Pain's gameplay loop is not just the stealth action. That's the biggest part of the game, of course, but it's not independent from the base management. Just like Peace Walker. Don't get me wrong, I love the Phantom Pain and I love how it's a complex warmonger simulator, but I can play Ground Zeroes without thinking about how much my loadout will cost, where to find resources in the map, whether it's worth playing this mission or another one that will give me more money. And the comfort of this simplicity was already in Peace Walker. I don't mean to go on a rant about the Phantom Pain, but I really feel like Kojima and his team lost the plot when it came to this game's base management. It's too complex for its own good. In Peace Walker, all you had to care about was keeping your soldiers fed, the money flowing, and the war business rolling. And you did that by recruiting soldiers and assigning them to their respective divisions. Combat unit, R&D, mess hall, medical team, intel team, and don't forget to send your soldiers on missions. And that's it. Why? Why am I collecting and managing resources? I always understood GMP not only as money, but also as the resources necessary to maintain a private military company afloat. All of it combined into a quantifiable subjective numerical value. Why are we separating these things? For busy work? Is that it? I wouldn't mind just collecting resources, but I just wish it was converted into GMP. Also, no, I don't want Mother Base to be able to change the weather.
Strike requested. Strike will commence shortly.
That's such overkill. Excuse me, 4 real-life days for this combat deployment to end? Why, motherfucker, why? Why do I have to wait this long? Why can't time pass between missions like in Peace Walker? Oh sure, it's because Konami thinks this is a gacha game on my fucking phone. It wants me to pay real-life money for the convenience of not wasting my time. It's not a system built on delivering an immediately engaging experience. Your engagement comes in installments. I played the Phantom Pain wishing it was a AAA Peace Walker, and I ended up getting way more than I bargained for. And then when I'm playing Ground Zeroes with the gift of retrospection, I end up feeling like I'm in a strange virtual liminal space preparing me for a game that never was.
I fear no man, but that thing. It scares me.
God, I hate this mission. But I love to hate it. It's the hardest mission in the game to complete with no alarms and by rescuing all prisoners, but it is possible, and I was only able to do it by retrying a million times. And it's not just because the mission is difficult, but because it's a little broken. Getting to know how the map works on each mission is very important when trying to play Ground Zero as well. Matter of fact, allowing the player to intimately understand how the map works so they can navigate it optimally or however they see fit is one of the main tentpoles of what makes a good stealth game. I will say though that this mission is weird. Maybe because there are lots of enemies and they are all on alert by default, and Ground Zeroes wasn't as polished as the Phantom Pain eventually was when it came to keeping track of NPCs' routines, but things don't always work as you expect. For example, there's supposed to be a guard on this tower, but he doesn't always spawn, at least not right away. I climb up the guard tower, I look around, and he's not there. I hop off, I walk away, look back, and there he is. Where the fuck did this guy come from? The mothership? Is he also a snatcher? So yeah, it seems like this mission pushes the limits of what Ground Zeroes can handle. Does that make it more difficult and unpredictable? Yeah. Is it frustrating? Yeah. Does it feel almost unfair for a mediocre player like me playing on hard mode? Yeah. Do I like it?
That was incredible, boss. I don't know how you stay so steady when everything goes to hell. Come on home.
Yeah, I do.
This place is full of any and this shit them all over.
Sometimes I wish Ground Zeroes had a random mission generator or something. Randomized time of day, where you start, the objective, be it target elimination or destruction, hostage rescue, intel acquisition, or even more than one objective at once. And that's it. Drop me there. Let me play. When I want to play in a quick, expertly designed sandbox without thinking much about cutscenes, a long story, or a gameplay loop I'm not particularly interested in at the moment, I can always go back to Ground Zeroes. It's always there for me when I want to spend about 30 minutes to an hour of my day doing something fun, and I know it'll be time well spent. I'm always a little confused when I see people claiming Ground Zeroes is a game you play for an hour and then you ditch it for the Phantom Pain, because I'm not even a hardcore player and I've clocked like 90 hours in this shit. I feel a little embarrassed. I feel like I should have played it more.
Heads up, get down.
OKB0, Nova Braga Airport, the Samasi Laman, Koganga Mines, the Waksin Barracks, Mafinda Oil Field. These bases are great and I love infiltrating them, but they still don't quite hit like Camp Omega does. The level design in the Phantom Pain is really good, but they focus too much on making everything really open. Camp Omega is big, detailed, and expansive like no base in the Phantom Pain. You won't feel like you're sneaking on your toes as much as you do in Ground Zeroes. It's like they got Camp Omega, broke it into a bunch of little pieces, and spread it all over Afghanistan and the Angola-Zaire border. At the end of the day, the controversial opinion here is that between Ground Zeroes and the Phantom Pain, or between Peace Walker and the Phantom Pain, I still kinda prefer the Phantom Pain, all things considered. And you must be thinking to yourself right now, today's dystopia, you absolute freakazoid. You just spent such a long time talking about Ground Zeroes in such a good light, while adding all these shades of grey to your enjoyment of the Phantom Pain, and for what? And the truth is, I think it's perfectly possible for one to enjoy something for the potential of what it could have been, as much as what it actually is. And that's how I feel about Ground Zeroes, and, to the same extent, about the Phantom Pain. I know this is silly. Why would I waste my time talking about such a short experience? Constantly flip-flopping between my feelings for it, and what came before, and what came after, and reach no actual conclusion other than the fact that I enjoy these things for wildly different reasons, while also enjoying them for very similar ones. I can't help but wonder what a Metal Gear Solid game that actually expanded legitimately on the Ground Zeroes formula would look like. A handful of maps which, together, could hold a few dozen missions of different sizes and levels of complexity. And yeah, I know I already mentioned the Hitman series, but I wish we could get a Metal Gear game like that. Hitman is more like a James Bond movie with a darker and, at times, sillier humor, while Metal Gear Solid is more like a Tom Clancy novel with the batshit insanity that only Hideo Kojima can offer.
That was perfect.
I love Ground Zeroes for the potential it teased me with as much as I do for the wonderfully realized sandbox it allows players to explore. I don't love it just because I'm operating on vibes here, although that's a big part of it, but because I appreciate Metal Gear Solid so much that it was impossible not to notice how unique Ground Zeroes is. So to finish this off, I have two things to say. First, Ground Zeroes was one of a kind, and if you didn't care much for it when you first played it, please give it a second chance. And second, fuck you, Huey. I wish I could drown you in a pool 3 times in a row.
That's it for today!
Thank you so much for watching. I finally talked about a video game on this channel, and of course it had to be MGS. If you spent a second looking at the channel's profile picture, you can probably assume I'm a huge Hideo Kojima fan. So it's only fair Metal Gear Solid gets a preference before anything else. If you'd like to watch more videos like this, feel free to like, subscribe, and hit the little bell. This has been today's Dystopia, and I'll see you, soldier, at Mother Base.